we'll start the drive to the next racetrack. And usually qualifying starts Friday night. Sometimes it's two separate events. One's a Friday night show and where it's all one show, or sometimes it'll be just qualifying for Friday night, and then Saturday night we'll run heat races and the feature. If it's a single event, we'll get to the racetrack probably around noon to 2 o'clock and wait, and we'll get our pit passes, get in and get parked, get the car unloaded, go and take a look at the racetrack, see what the race surface looks like, see if our setup's still in the ballpark where we need to be. By like 5 or so, we're getting ready to maybe go out and practice, which is called hot laps. And we'll go out and get 3 or 4 laps on the track and see how our car is. We'll take some times and compare them to other racers that are there and see if we're in the ballpark as far as speed-wise. Then we'll come in and we'll change the car a little bit before we go out to qualify. Usually qualifying is 2 laps, so we'll go out and get 2 laps of qualifying, and that'll usually line you up for your heat race. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Sometimes it's straight up, sometimes they do an inversion, where the fastest guy will be inverted to maybe 4th spot or 3rd spot, just depending on what sanctioning body you're at, what rules. So then you'll run a heat race, and they'll usually transfer probably anywhere from 2 to 4 cars from each heat race, depending on how many cars are at the event, to the A feature, and then from position 5 on back we'll go to a B feature, and hopefully we've made it in through the heat race and we can start preparing and getting our car ready for the feature and our tires around. We usually run anywhere from 4 to maybe 20 different tires throughout the course of the night, depending on the way the racetrack changes. One thing in dirt, usually it starts off wet and tacky and usually goes to a dry, slick surface. We're using a much harder tire. Earlier on, you're using a soft tire, which will grip in that tacky clay a lot better. So hopefully we've made it in through the heat race, and we'll get our car around for our feature, get our fuel in it, get our setup in it, change some shocks and springs, and get a game plan as to where on the racetrack we're going to run, and maybe change the setup accordingly. If we're going to try and run the bottom of the racetrack or in the top of the racetrack or even in the middle, we'll have a setup geared for one area, and hopefully you can go out there and stick with your game plan. If not, then you're going to have to just work with the way the car is if you have to move around. So we'll get our setup on it, and then we'll go out and we'll start the feature. And features usually run from 25 laps all the way up to 100, depending on the event. So we might have to gear up a little bit more for longer features, more fuel, more weight. At the end of each feature, you have to scale, which means weigh the cars. Our cars need to be 2,300 pounds usually at the end of each race. Some sanctioning bodies, they give you a fuel burn off, so you can, it's usually a pound per lap. So you just have to make sure you're weighing properly. So when you're done with the feature, if you win, you got to go through tech, get weighed, and be declared the winner. And that's when the celebrations start and the good times are. So that's usually the course of a race week. And then, you know, if it's just a Friday night, then we'll get loaded up and head to the next racetrack for Saturday and start the thing all over again. Prepare, wash, or prepare, race, load, wash, unload. It's a vicious cycle. Usually we have a cooler full of barley sodas, and usually we'll have a couple beers at the end of the race, hang out with the fans, because the fans will come in and want to talk to you and maybe buy some souvenirs or tell you a good job, or you know, it was a good race, or I liked the certain race you were in, or whatever. So you get to hang out with the fans and get to sell some souvenirs, sell some t-shirts and whatnot to the fans, and get to be on a one-on-one basis with the fans, and they get to see you, and you get to sign some autographs for them and take some pictures and whatnot. So that's our celebration. We usually have a beer or so and just hang out and you know, see the fans and just sort of relax a little bit, because we know that in a couple hours we'll have to be loaded up and headed to the next racetrack to start game plan all over again. During our race week, we usually have some crew. I've had anywhere from 1 to 3 different people work for me at one time. Usually we like to keep 2 guys working full-time throughout the year. One guy that's been with me for a while, his name's Joe Drake. We call him Camel. He's been with me for about probably 6 years now, and he'll be with us every race. He travels with us in the motorhome, and he's here during the week working in the shop. For this next year, we don't have any other person available right now. We're still looking. In the past, I've had guys that worked for me that now work for Winston Cup and NASCAR and do jobs there. And I've had people come from overseas to work with me. I've had a gentleman from New Zealand come over with his family and work with us for a whole year. I've had another gentleman from Australia come over for 2 months and work with us. So we can have a variety of different people. You just want to have somebody that's mechanically inclined and wants to go race and just enjoys the sport. It's usually tough on them because you're gone so long and it's so demanding, and we're working usually 16 hours a day and stuff to get ready for a race and at the races. So we have a crew of probably anywhere from 2 to 3. My mom and dad go to every race with us. My dad helps us out as far as crewing and stuff like that, change tires and things like that, and fill the car full of fuel. And my mom usually takes care of us and keeps us fed, keeps us all going, and make sure we have prayer before we go race, and keeps us all in high spirits. Usually my wife goes with us when she gets off work or in the summer. So she's crew. She helps take care of my helmet and take times and stuff like that. So that's a vital aspect as well, to know where the qualifying orders are, and my mom does that as well. So it's good. We have quite a few different people, and they all take different turns as to what their jobs are and whatnot. So it's not so monotonous and same thing over and over. Usually it's pretty versatile. You get to do a bunch of different things in a bunch of different cities. We get to see a lot of cities and states. You know, I would say if we were to go race for one weekend, depending on how far you have to travel, let's say we had to travel 8 hours, so that's 16 hours roughly. I would say it would cost, with the travel, the crew, the food, everything, in the maintenance of the car and the wear and tear on the car, I would say you'd probably be in the $2,500 to $3,000 per event. So, I mean, you can break those costs up a little bit if you're going to 2 different racetracks on the same weekend. To go racing for 1 week, if you had all your equipment and all your crew and whatnot, to pay your crew and to pay the fuel to get there in the truck, and your pit passes, and the wear and tear on your motor and your car, if you don't break anything, I would say is probably $2,500 to $3,000 an event to pay for your tires and your fuel for the race car, your tires or your fuel and your wear and tear on the semi to get you to the racetrack, your pit passes, your food, to hire the help, and things like that. I would say it's in the $3,000 per event. We race approximately 62 times a year, and our budget, it is anywhere from $175,000 to $150,000 a year. This car here is new for 2007. It's a master-built chassis. We name every car. This one is called Kiwi. It's named after one of the guys that worked for me last year that come from New Zealand. We're still in the stages of putting it together. It'll be ready to go racing in the middle of March. We have probably another 100 hours or so and it'll be ready to go. This car here is called Catapult. It's the name come from New Zealand for the Night Stinger Spider. This is a car we raced to the 3rd place at the World 100, and it's my favorite car out of my fleet. It raced to probably, I think, 5 wins last year, and it's the best car I got. This car here is a Rayburn chassis. It's new for us this year in 2007. This is what we went to Florida and raced. It's new to me. It has a whole different style suspension than I'm used to. It has a whole different style suspension than I've ever raced before. So it takes a different driving style and a different style of setting it up. It took me a little while to get used to it, but with a little bit of practice, we'll be able to be competitive in it. We're not quite there yet, so we've got to go back to work and do some homework and do some testing, and we'll be able to get out there and be competitive with it. Versatile.
Well, the better.
Okay. This is our trailer. This is our transporter, how we get the cars to the racetrack. On the back you have these two panels here, which are souvenirs, something that the fans can buy souvenirs for, t-shirts. We try to keep a wide variety to keep new, fresh ideas. This is our transporter. We have everything from spare motor compartment here to cabinets. We have all our batteries for all our power tools. We have all kinds of spare parts here. Our fuel's kept here for the race car. We have spare parts for spare rear end here. More chemicals and stuff like that. These are all our shocks and springs in here. All of our setup changes we make in here. We have a dyno to dyno all of our shocks and test all our shocks to make sure that they're working accurately. This is a tire grooving station where we have to groove every tire that we put on the race car. All of our tires come in a standard rib pattern usually. We have to cut every line and every groove in each tire. Each tire is different compound, different hardness depending on the surface of the racetrack. So there's anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 different compounds that we'll race throughout the year. And we have to know each compound, know which kind of dirt it works with and which kind it doesn't work with. And then each grooving pattern, which one works best for that type of dirt and that length of race, and get them all set up for that event and that night. So there's a lot of preparation in tires that goes along with your springs and your shocks and your setup like that. Our tires are very crucial. You get too hard a tire and you're not going to go forward. You get too soft a tire and at the end of the race they go away and you go backwards. So you have to know the proper compound that's going to get you to the front at the end of the race. That's going to last for the entire race and you're going to have the best performance throughout the race. This is our toter home. This is the transporter connected to our trailer. This is where we spend roughly about 48 to 40 weekends of the year. Starts back here where we have 4 bunks. Each bunk has its own TV. So when you're traveling down the road, you can watch TV, whether it be satellite, DVD, or VCR. You have closets right here for your clothes. There's a door to separate that for when you're going down the road. You have your shower here on this side. You have your toilet and whatnot on this side, both with doors where you can seal it off. Another door here if you want to make a huge bathroom. And then you go, this is our lounge area. We have 2 couches, 2 separate TVs, of which can run DVDs or satellite receivers, all in motion. We have a refrigerator, our cooktop, and our sink here. A microwave, cabinets with all our food. This is our dinette. There's another bunk up top, and that's the cab where you drive. This is where we spend a bunch of time a year. So we like to keep it like home, just like you would at your house. You have pictures up and things to make it that personal touch.
It's okay.
More professional.
That's right. Just walk right up.
This thing is filthy.